last name is F like Foxtrot, Lagg. And I am the National Director of Operations for the United Cajun Navy. Those of you who may not know, people who are in the audience that may not know, we are a disaster response organization. We respond to natural disasters, all over the country. We're formed during Hurricane Katrina when New Orleans was flooded so badly. We had just a bunch of good old boys that had boats and took it upon themselves to go out into the waters of New Orleans and start rescuing people, taking them supplies, et cetera, et cetera. Fast forward to today, our organization has been to almost every major natural disaster in this country, to include Hurricane Michael, Hurricane Ian, the Texas wildfires. We have people there now. The fires in Maui. So that's kind of an brief overview of what we do. We also obviously get involved in missing persons cases. We do search and rescue and focus on providing supplies of whatever nature the people might need them, food, clothing, etc. To touch on the reason that we're here today, we were contacted by Riley's family and asked to step up and provide some more resources to this search activity. And we have been pretty much involved from the very first day that we heard about it, which I believe was on Monday, would have been the 10th, 11th, whatever day that was. We've had an airboat here on the river. We've had people involved behind the scenes and following this and understanding what's been happening here with regard to the search efforts of individuals. We felt that it was probably a real good idea for us to step in and organize a structured and organized search activity for this. We also have, today we have a hovercraft coming in and a pilot to run that craft. If he gets here early enough, we will be on the river today. And if not, we'll start early tomorrow morning and spend a good bit of time on the river here, assisting in that search. We had an airboat here, and that individual will be returning, I believe, Friday, possibly Saturday. I would reiterate what Riley's father said. Our main focus, obviously, is to find Riley. Our secondary focus is to ensure the safety of the people who are out here searching. If we have folks just out on their own on these very steep and treacherous terrain on the riverbank and other treacherous aspects of this search, we don't know. We don't know what's going on with you. It's not safe. It's real dangerous. So I would encourage any volunteers who have been here and are searching to please come under the umbrella of the United Cajun Navy search. We will be putting together a structured and organized ground search at some point in the near future. I don't have the specific information on that yet, but I will make that information known once I have it. If you do intend to come out and search with us or to continue to search on your own, there are some safety aspects that you need to know. Number one, you need to be wearing some sturdy shoes. You need to have some heavy gloves on and some nitrile or rubber gloves as well. There's a lot of garbage and debris and needles and bodily fluids of one kind or another that are on these riverbanks that you really don't want to be exposed to. So that's what I would ask of you, just for your own safety. And I would also reiterate what Riley's father said. If you all do have questions for the family, please be very, very sensitive about the nature of this incident. As you can imagine, those of you who have children or don't have children, I guess the best advice I could give would be don't ask a question of the family that you would not want to be asked yourself. That's pretty much all I have to say. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
One thing that I wonder for you, couple of days to say that they don't suspect foul play. Do you see the evidence to that? Do you believe?
At this point, there is no evidence that I'm aware of that would indicate foul play. You all know how it goes on Facebook and social media. There's been a lot of chatter on there about the fact that Riley's debit card was found on the riverbank, and that is prima facie evidence of criminal activity, something of that nature there. I don't agree with that. Obviously I'm not the investigator. We have a couple of representatives from MNPD here, and I'm sure they have something to say about it, but I would very seriously at this point doubt that there's been any criminal activity.
Brendan Tierney with WSMV4. Chris Michelle, you guys are obviously asking for more people to come in and help at this point. Are you satisfied with the job Metro Police have done, and what are you hoping that this additional volunteer effort will do to help you?
Yes, we feel like they've handled it well. We know that there's an excessive amount of information coming into them that they're having to dissect. It's hard as a parent, as we are now 10, 11, 12 days into this, and we're trying to, find Riley, come up with, an outcome here. And so, yes, as the days drag on, we are frustrated. We know they're doing their job. We've seen what they've got. They're doing things.
Probably any investigation like this, details of what the sheriff does. They're working on there. We don't know what all exactly what they've done as far as searching goes. We don't know some of the information. We're not to say they haven't done it.
Exactly. And, Dave is kind of an extra resource for us, a point of contact with his foundation, his group, to be able to help us so that we can focus and make sure that we're doing everything as best as possible. It's been hard being from out of town, being from 6.5 hours away, to put a structured program together when you don't know everywhere that you're at, you don't know the lay of the land as well, you don't have your family and your resources that are in your hometown to be able to help guide you and lean on to build a organized search. And that has bothered us, and Dave is our answer.
Kind of rewinding a little bit, I know that y'all saw the bar footage for the first time, potentially. Is there anything significant there that you feel comfortable sharing at this time?
The only thing really that we have seen with our own eyes is in the bar footage with the Riley and his friends going down the stairs just before he exited the bar. His friend turned around and goes back up the stairs. We're not focusing on a lot of the stuff that happened earlier. We're still pushing forward. We're trying to figure out something very exciting.
When do you anticipate these police data from
I'm not able to comment on that at this point. I know that they're still digging through information, so hopefully they'll be able to provide information here, as we move forward. We know that Riley was possibly texting and communicating with multiple people. Again, we don't know the exact people. We don't know the exact timeline, or who the last person was.
Anything right now would kind of be speculation on our part about exactly what that was.
No need to muddy the water. So I'm sure the detectives, as information becomes available that is pertinent like that, they will provide to us, and we will share as we can.
And again, we have a couple representatives from the police department here, and that may be a question that you could ask them. Before they come up, there's just, anybody else have questions for the family before I interrupt?
I do. Michelle, the last time you and I spoke, you told me he was here with 15 his fraternity brothers. Not one of them left the bar to go with him. I know you were close with some of his friends as well. What have those conversations been like since?
I mean, they're heartbroken also. He's their best friend. We love these boys like our own. It's just as hard on them as it is on us.
Right now, we really are focusing on
Focusing on bringing Riley home.
his last point.
He's my best friend. He's everything.
Is that it?
I have a question. Can you tell me how many people are part of your group who are actively searching, and are there different times that you're searching?
So we are an all-volunteer organization. So people who work with us, volunteer with us, have jobs, have families. And so there's, at any given time, that number is going to fluctuate. You know, sometimes it might be 2 people and sometimes it might be 200 people. At this point, I am the only boots on the ground for the United Cajun Navy, and that is going to change here very shortly. We're going to get as many people who are associated with our organization involved in this search. The ground search is what I'm referring to. We have a couple representatives from MMPD who'd like to speak with you, but before they do, there's one thing I do want to say, and if I hurt somebody's feelings out there, oh well. I'm a retired Pennsylvania State Trooper. There has been a lot of chatter on social media about the police are or are not handling this investigation properly. They should have done this. They should have done that. If you're not a trained police officer, your speculation is just that, just speculation. I've been in constant contact with Detective Chandler, and I know that they have been making every effort that they can to bring this investigation, this search to a close. So please, you folks out there on social media, think real hard about what you're going to post before you post it. And that goes as well for the posts about the family and about this investigation. You know, the family doesn't really need to see posts on social media that say, well, maybe there's a serial killer out there and that's where he chunked him in the water. That's not cool. Anybody got questions for me? Yes, ma'am.
Freedom attack as far as with these drones or any strategy there that you can elaborate on?
Give me the first part of that again. I missed it.
It's just kind of a freedom attack on why you're playing this whether it's drones in the water or any strategy, anything.
Yes, ma'am. Well, like I said, we have 2 boats coming, and that's going to be obviously our water search. This terrain presents a very, very difficult challenge for a ground search. I'm sure y'all have seen on TV that, you know, when there's a field or a wooded area that you have a line of people 2-3 feet apart and everybody just walking through. This is not going to be that. Also, the terrain is going to be very difficult to use any sort of tracking dog. Again, just because it's going to be very difficult to walk. So my goal, was part of the reason that I came down here early today, is so I could get my eyes on the terrain. I hadn't seen it yet, and formulate a plan for that. The plan right now is very loose and informal. We want all the volunteers to meet up with me before we go out, and probably about the only way to really and effectively be able to do this is to put people in 2s and 3s, potentially 4s. We are working on getting some supplies, ropes, etc., that are going to enable these people to safely traverse this terrain. If there is anybody out there who would like to contribute to that effort, please feel free to go on our website, which is UnitedCajunNavy.org, and there's a donate button. You can feel free to donate there. But that's my next step, is to get the supplies and the equipment that's needed to be able to conduct this search safely. And that's, as far as the plan goes, that's all we have right now. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Okay, yeah, yes and yes to your questions. You know, at this point, we're going to focus on the riverbank area and the water, because that appears to be the last place where Riley was seen. We have the last video footage that we have of him, I believe, is from this camera. From this camera on this building here, and video footage from surveillance cameras all around the area do not indicate that he ever came up this way or up the steps by the courthouse or anything of that nature there. The last video is of him going underneath this bridge right here, and that's pretty much it. Now, that doesn't mean that we won't do some canvassing of the homeless encampments and the downtown area where there may be other homeless people, simply to see if we can pull out any other information. Speaking of which, if there is anybody out there that has any information about this, please step forward and get in touch with me. You can reach out to me on our Facebook page, which is simply United Cajun Navy on Facebook. If you are scared or concerned about the nature of your information, come and get hold of me anyway. Right? Our main goal here is to bring Riley home.
Is there like an email that potential volunteers for this, or should they just message you on Facebook or?
Yes, you can message us on Facebook, and our email address is info@unitedcajunnavy.org, and that's United. Cajun is CAJUNNAVY. UnitedCajunNavy.org. Anybody else? Gentlemen?
I'm Detective Anthony Chandler, Sergeant Bob Nilsson. We're with the Homicide Cold Case Unit for Metro National Police, and we've been heading up the investigation of this experience. As Mr. Flagg said, we've been in contact with him since the very beginning, coordinating what we could as far as the family's active participation in locating Riley. That has been, and to this day remains, the top priority. There has not been any evidence that has come forward to change this to an ongoing criminal investigation at this time. Regardless of what else has been put out there are several leads that we are following up with on a constant basis, and an influx of information is coming forward at all times. We are going through every single piece of that information, but the priority remains locating Riley.
As you said, I'm Sergeant Nielsen. I gave a briefing to our chain of command all the way up to Chief Drake yesterday. They're well aware of where we are with the investigation at this point, as well as the resources. We do have our boat going back to the water this afternoon, along with members of the Urban Search and Rescue team. They'll be combing the area, researching the area. It's been mentioned already today, and it's also been asked. Things like, why was that card found, and why didn't we find it? As Mr. Flagg pointed out, there's a lot of variables in these investigations, and if you've not been skilled or trained or experienced in these investigations, you don't understand a lot of these things. As Don Aaron put out the other day, when we start a missing person investigation, we're looking for a person or a body. We're not looking for small pieces of evidence. Can we miss some things? Sure. But our primary goal is to find Mr. Strain and bring him home safely. Think of it like a large crime scene. A lot of times you have to deal with the victims first, and you're going to go back and start looking for those precise pieces of evidence. That's kind of our focus here. We're looking for Mr. Strain, then we go back and look again. And because these two ladies over here were kind enough to volunteer their time and help us by finding that, now we can do a more refined search with our Urban Search and Rescue, which is what we're going to be doing this afternoon. And as Mr. Flagg said, a lot of volunteers coming down to volunteer understand it's very treacherous terrain. That's why we're using Urban Search and Rescue and not just anyone on the street, because our people are trained, they're equipped to have everything that they need to conduct these searches. You won't even see a patrol officer go to some of these areas that are more treacherous. Why? Because they don't have the propelling equipment, things of that nature. So we're utilizing all the resources we can. We're also going to be reaching out to Office of Emergency Management. They've been helping with us quite a bit. Over the weekend, they've been back out with a boat, divers, cadaver dogs. They run sonar. Our boat has sonar. It's the same stuff people have asked about TBI. It's the same resources they have. So there's not been a need for us to get additional assistance from these other agencies. However, like Mr. Flagg, Cajun Navy, they had that experience. They want to volunteer their time. They've been very gracious in talking with us, saying they're going to help us out. Not a problem at all. But again, if you have a structured organization like the United Cajun Navy, you have the safety protocols in place, you have the equipment and the resources to utilize to conduct that search as well as to make sure everybody's safe doing it. We're going to continue to search. We're still filtering all the Crime Stoppers tips, as Detective Chandler said. I cannot stress enough the volume of information we've gotten. We've had people get frustrated with us because they'll call us, say, on a Monday, and they don't know why we haven't got back to them. I've had to explain to them, we have to weigh every piece of evidence we get, or information rather, evenly. We can't just jump to the top because, quite honestly, there's a lot of tips that we're getting that are not tips. They mean well, but they're not tips. So we have to prioritize what's actually providing information. And some of the other things I have my detectives do today is re-canvassing the area for video. And while we don't think Riley may have been in any of these homeless camps away from this area, those are areas that we're going to be working on this afternoon ourselves. In regards to, we've had questions about some of the behind-the-scenes things we're doing, search warrants, that kind of thing. Please understand it's an open investigation. We cannot share that information with the public because it's an open investigation. If it were to turn into a criminal investigation, well, obviously now we're negatively impacting that situation. So please understand, if you call us and you're asking us questions, there may be some things we cannot answer to maintain the integrity of the investigation, as well as any potential evidence should there be a criminal component to it. I would also ask, as Mr. Flagg and everybody has, if you have questions for the family, you want to help the family, that's great. But please also respect their privacy. These kinds of incidents that happen, sometimes people with the best of intentions don't know the best way to approach people. And it can cause more stress for the family. So please be mindful of that.
One of the other things I wanted to make sure everybody understood, all the businesses and everybody we have asked for assistance as far as video or any other information, we have had absolute cooperation from everybody involved. There's never been a time where anyone has had any issue in giving us any other information. To go along with what Mr. Flagg said, I know earlier I said this is not a criminal investigation this time. Should we uncover something that would change that, it's important that we go through one centralized source to where we know we can then change the manner in which we're searching and can start to conduct that in the proper manner. So if you do want to volunteer, we welcome all eyes to come help try to find Riley. But if we stumble across something to where we need to change the direction of the investigation, it's important that it's through one coordinated source and they're able to give the information back to us so we can adjust accordingly.
I think the only thing I would like to add before we open up the questions is one of the concerns people have called in multiple times about is that he was, Riley was being chased, he was being followed. We have seen no evidence of that. We've been through the video multiple times, and that is the reason why we released that body camera footage, because that officer had an interaction with him, and we've talked to other people that have indicated to us there was no injuries on Mr. Strain when they observed him, and there was no indication that he was running from anything or he was in fear. There's been a lot of misconceptions, a lot of misinformation out there, and we're putting out everything we can to dispel all of those misconceptions. We're happy to answer those questions, but again, people are taking what has already been put out, what the media's put out, and then putting their spin on it, pulling back the Crime Stoppers tips that are not actually tips, they're theory on what happened. We love people calling in and helping us, but we need actionable leads that we can follow up on. So please understand too, when you don't see us, like my detectives out in the field constantly, it's because we're trying to prioritize those tips that we're getting. What's actually useful information that we can follow up on. Because sometimes we get tips that we can't follow up on. It's just a statement somebody's making. So with that, you have a question, ma'am?
Yes, sir. So the credit card being discovered separated from wherever Riley is and potentially separated from his wallet. Some would say that could potentially go either way. Sure, maybe it just fell out and he didn't even realize, or maybe it was forcefully removed. So how do you decide which it is and which side to lean on, whether missing person versus criminal? Because a lot of folks would say, well, that could certainly indicate, or lay people would say, that could certainly indicate criminal activity.
Once we recovered the card, it was secured and processed properly to where it can be examined as the car is going into a criminal matter at a later time if it's so needed.
How does the United Cajun Navy fit into MNPD's command structure?
It
pretty much allow our people with emergency contingency section and USAR to coordinate with them because, we do cold case investigations. We don't handle that part. So our job is typically to get them in touch with them and let them coordinate between the two because they have the knowledge and expertise. They know how to communicate with one another and schedule with each other what they're going to do, how they're going to do it. It would be kind of a moot point for us to step in the middle of that other than act as a liaison and get contact.
Which two, and I think you said get them in touch with them.
With one part of our department that handles like urban search and rescue and the boat searches and everything, we get that unit in contact with Mr. Flash.
So they're coordinating their efforts.
That's what we're planning because our resources are coming back out this afternoon, and that's kind of our goal is with Mr. Flag here today is get him in touch with the supervisors over that unit so they can make that coordination.
And then at what point would your office decide to no longer continue the
until we have no other actionable leads? But because we work cold case, we continue working until we just have nothing. And as new information comes in, we continue to pick it right back up and go right back to it. This is not going away. It's not going away anytime soon. And I have detectives that work cold case homicides that are decades old, and we continue to work on these. In fact, one of my detectives has been able to close 2 of them last year. So I say that to say, this isn't going away. We keep going until we have absolutely nothing, no new tips, no traces of anything to follow up on. But until that happens, we're still going to be out here doing everything.
How would you describe the actionable leads in front of NMPD right now?
In what regard?
We said we're going to keep going until we have no action.
Meaning if somebody calls in with a theory, okay, that's one thing. But unless they're giving us information like a name, a location where they saw a suspicious person, but they saw a piece of an item that belonged to Riley, that doesn't help us. So we have to filter through to look for the things and say, hey, around this time I saw John Doe at this location. He might have been wearing a similar shirt, or maybe he was talking about it. That's something we can follow up on. We can look for video cameras in the area. But when they just say, I just saw a homeless guy in the area, that doesn't help us because it's nothing we can follow up on. Does that help?
So enough of those actionable leads are still coming in right now. It's very
And actually, that's why we were late coming up here, was because we've been following up on those.
When we last heard from you guys on Thursday, you were still waiting on cell phone and Apple Watch data. Have you received all of that at this point? And if you have, what have you been able to find from it?
At this point right now, what we have originally from Apple is what we're working off of. All of the location data is what we've already released. So at this point in time, that's the same information we're going to be working off of.
I have a simple question. On the video that I saw, a lot of people were out, and they could have done something to help this young man. And maybe we should push the national, but if you see that happening, don't be afraid to help someone. I mean, literally, on that video, I saw a lot of people that saw how drunk they were. They could have been stopped. Somebody could have said, hey, are you okay? Especially once you see somebody falling.
Now, you're 100% correct. And unfortunately, that is the state of our society.
I know. Everybody's
today.
scared to help somebody.
And I agree with you 100%. You know, Nashville population, if you see something, say something and do something.
Yeah. I appreciate that. Because I watched that and I'm like, nobody did anything to say, hey, man, this guy shouldn't be walking around.
Right. So, any other questions?
God bless you guys.
Could you guys say your names and spell it one more time in your title?
I'm Detective Anthony Chandler, Chandler.
I'm Sergeant Robert Nielsen, Nielsen.
And you're with?
Metro National Police Department location. You got a question, sir?
Sure. Could you all just go over again what it is that you're saying that there's no sign of how Plan PD is not being criminal investigation at this time? Is it the lack of evidence to the contrary, or do you have other information that suggests that
right now it's a lack of any evidence of a crime being committed? A lot of people have come over to us with various items claiming that it's indicative of it. And please understand, as a supervisor, I've been working homicides for 10 years. He's been working for a long time as a detective. And we're skilled in criminal investigations. What evidence can be, different possibilities for physical evidence, whether it's digital evidence, whatever. And if we don't have anything like we don't at this point that indicates that there's any indication of foul play, then if we go down that rabbit hole, then we're wasting resources and time.